Hello and welcome to the Breaking Muscle podcast, where we explore the mindsets and philosophies of some of the leading minds in all of health and fitness. I am Pete Hitzeman, managing editor of BreakingMuscle.com, and hosting today's show is Shane Trotter. Even with the resurgence of functional fitness over the past decade, there seems to be an arms race when it comes to equipment. Where many CrossFit boxes 10 years ago were aggressively minimalist, today you'll find no shortage of gadgets, contraptions, and novelties as gyms pull out all the stops to set themselves apart in an increasingly competitive space. Ryan Hurst of GMB Fitness can explain to you why you don't need all that noise. GMB has created a bodyweight system that focuses on actual function, bending, crawling, running, jumping, climbing, that sort of thing. Ryan's focus is to empower you to move your body in whatever way you want, in whatever situation you encounter. Today, Shane Trotter sits down with Ryan to talk about the roots of his essentialist philosophy. You'll hear how he deals with the intersecting challenges of parenthood and fitness, how his daily meditation practice enables his life, how he shapes his day to enable him to remain present, and how immersing himself in a foreign culture taught him the value of listening.
Today we have Ryan Hurst. He's founded GMB, Gold Medal Bodies. He's got a pretty amazing background, an amazing history in both gymnastics and martial arts. If you haven't been to GMB, I certainly recommend it. It's a beautifully designed site, very simple, very thought-provoking. It certainly makes you want to try their methods and start to explore the outdoors and your own what your body's capable. It's a pretty cool site. Very well done. Very impressive. So I'm very excited to be talking to Ryan. Thanks for being here, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, and I'll pay you later for that awesome intro, talking me up there. That was great, man. So.
Sure. Well, we'll jump in. The first round, it's getting to know you questions. Okay. They're one-word answers only. So we'll get to the depth later. So you're gonna have to pick here. All right. So first one, steak or salmon?
Oh, that's wow, like both. Salmon.
Perfect.
Salmon raw.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Raw. Okay. All right. 1 rep max or VO2 max?
Oh, wow, that's pretty good. I would go with 1 rep max, but especially because I'm bodyweight guy, so I would be looking at things like front lever, your planche, handstand push-up sort of thing. So yeah, 1 rep max, man.
Okay, awesome. Some of those awesome skills, those feats of
It's the party tricks, man. The party tricks.
All right, gymnastics or martial arts? I know, for you especially.
This is a tough one, man. Oh man, I gotta go with gymnastics. That's tough for me to say, though. That's tough, man. And the reason why is I think it'll really, starting off, if you were to start off with gymnastics, it's a good lead into martial art. It'll give you everything you need in order to, whatever martial art you want to do. I think it's a good lead in for it.
That's the path you took, right?
It is, yeah. Not just because I did it, but I do believe that thanks to the way that I did do it by starting off in gymnastics, it allowed me to be able to pretty much do the majority of everything I want to be able to do. So, Gymnastics.
Perfect. The one thing, not a person, that you could not live without?
I'd definitely say meditation.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Very
meditation.
Cool. How long have you been meditating?
Single day. Well, I've been in Japan for about 25 years. 25 years now, so pretty much every day since then. And it was, a lot of people like meditation are kind of like, ooh, kind of thing. But, man, clarity and can keep you grounded. And, man, I've got to do my meditation every single day, or else I'm not having a good day.
Perfect. Yeah, we will dig into that more. I'm going to just, without
cool, man.
asking and jumping on a billion things,
yeah, man.
I'll save that for later. Your favorite television show or movie?
Wow, yeah. I don't watch TV. Being in Japan, it's tough. I would say movie, though, The Big Blue, or Le Grand Bleu by Luc Vincent. It's an older movie. I remember it from back when I was in high school. and it's about Jacques Maral, who is the free diver, and it's just an absolutely beautiful movie. Just cinematography, everything about it, it's just gorgeous. But it looks at like this free diver and his life and things like that, and I just think it's a wonderful movie. I think in English, I believe it's called the Big Blue or the Grand Blue, maybe. But yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Luke Benson is the dude who did. Do you remember The Professional? Like maybe not. All these old movies.
No.
Anyway. I'm aging myself here. Yeah. So.
Well, no worries. Okay, you're about to do something awesome. What song do you play?
Oh man, Foo Fighters. It's got to be Foo Fighters. It's Bridge Burning Foo Fighters. Bridge Burning by the Foo Fighters, man. So
perfect. Right on. You kind of have a Dave Grohl-esque look.
Oh man, you just made my day. Yeah. Yeah.
The greatest invention of the last 100 years is?
Oh man, probably have to say the computer, because we can have this little chat that we're doing right here. And,
pretty neat. What's the one place everyone should visit?
Ooh. You know what, I would say a shanty town. This might sound kind of weird, but when I was in junior high, I was in Mexico, and I was in one of the poorer areas. It changed my life. I mean, it gives you a different perspective on life, makes you appreciate the things that you have. And I remember also visiting Cape Town, South Africa, when I was teaching a seminar there, and visited a shanty town over there, man. And it's just, wow. Yeah, that'll really change your outlook on life, make you appreciate what you got. So,
certainly. I think a lot of people could use that and shock them out of their normal patterns, certainly.
Exactly, man. Yeah, exactly. Sure. Yeah.
Most of our problems would be solved if only blank was the dictator. And this can be a fictional character.
Dude, Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris, baby. Chuck Norris. He would get shit done.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. And what one word best describes you?
Wow. I've had people tell me that I'm earnest, as far as being very sincere and intense, as far as my conviction. I do things.
Right on. All right, we're going to jump into the questions of depth. These can go as wide and broad and long, and we can spiral them out, whatever we need. Okay.
Cool.
So. You got 1 hour of sleep. Do you train anyway, or call it and train another day?
No, man, I'm calling it. You know, I've done the no sleep thing, and maybe back when I was 20, things would have been okay. But nowadays, man, if I don't get my sleep, then I'm not going to be functioning at all. And so I would call it a day. It goes back to, I think, there's this periods of time in your life, right? And so I was a competitor, gymnastics as well as judo. That's what I was doing, over here in Japan. And, as an athlete, sleep is extremely important. And so I made sure that I did have that sleep. My coach would have kicked my ass. But, being a father, I'm 44 years old right now. I've got 2 kids. And I remember when my kids, they weren't sleeping at night. Of course, they're, just infants, and they would keep you up at night, and I would try and do my workouts and to try and push through it, and it just didn't work. And so, I realized that this is something big in GMB as well, is you got to use auto-regulation, man. You got to look at, where you are that day. You got to say, hey, it might be my high day, my high-intensity day for working out, but it just isn't going to work. What can I do today? And that's probably going back to bed be the best thing.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and the willingness to change a high day is tough.
Man. Yeah, it is tough. Yeah. I think as you get older, though, you understand that a bit better, is in terms of looking at not just right now, but also thinking about from here on out, because you could push through it. You definitely could push through it, but for me, traveling so much as well, being on an airplane, 12 to 15 hours at a time, every time I leave Japan, I know that I'm going to be sleep deprived, and I know I'm not going to have a great workout the very next day. So I just plan for that, and so I make sure to, whenever I go to teach somewhere, like I was just in Amsterdam, 2 weeks ago, I made sure that I went a few days early just so I could make sure that I can get over my jet lag and be good and ready to go and get my sleep in so I can be good for the people that I got to teach. So, yeah, man, sleep. Got to sleep.
Couple questions. I don't have kids yet. I think they're around the corner. So I've often wondered how people deal with that, because in our industry, you're whether you're working with athletes or a client or whatever it is, if you're not talking to them about sleep, for their health and for their performance, whatever their goals are, then you're not really doing your job.
Exactly, man.
And then, of course, we're in this industry because we have a passion for this stuff, so we want to train. What do you do when you just have a baby crying all night? I've always wondered.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and it's one of those things in the beginning, like, it'll drive me crazy. I mean, it will. And, I mean, you love it, but you're just like, I got to work. What the hell? It's one of those things where you just got to just suck it up. And that sounds horrible, but it's something that everybody, every father, every mother goes through. You can get through it. You're going to be fine. It's just a matter of how you deal with it. And this goes back to my meditation, and it's like,
yes,
how do you deal with things? You got a choice. You can either just freak out about it, or you can say, hey, listen, this is what it is, and this is how I can deal with it. I'm just going to do the best I can, and you move on. And I mean, I think I just explained parenting there, but it doesn't matter how old they get. There's some days you're just like, seriously, did you just seriously do that? You can just totally lose your shit, and or you can just take a step back and go, all right, these are little people here, drive you crazy, but you just got to deal with it. So I mean, sleep is the same thing too, and it's like with clients, and even though you're not a father yet, you know what it's like to not sleep and how you feel, and just having empathy for your clients, and even if it is their high day and you want to make sure that you got to push them or something, take that into consideration. And so that's the difference between a good coach and a great coach, is having that empathy and knowing what that person not only wants but what they need, and making sure you're giving them what they need in order to keep them going. And some days it means backing off. So yeah.
No doubt. And I couldn't agree more with my experience with meditation is the same. It's that one thing that allows you to not spiral out of control on whatever emotional wave that you're riding at the moment, to just be with it and watch it pass. And which for some people who can't sleep, it's because all those things, so that goes to sleep too.
That's it, man. That's the thing. Now, believe you me, I still lose my shit from time to time, but I think the meditation helps keep me from going crazy, I guess. So, but yeah, the sleep is a huge part of it. When you've got everything going on in your mind, you end up staying awake at night because you can't sleep because you're thinking about whatever. I mean, that's where I think meditation really comes into play, as far as not the fact of trying not to think about anything, but when something comes in, to just let it go and let it pass, and it makes life so much easier. Yeah.
Do you use? You've been doing it for 25 years. So you're, I'm of the generation of new meditators that all have an app they use.
Dude, I use an app too, man. I love Headspace. Okay. So Headspace.
Okay, me too.
So yeah, man, I meditate twice a day. So I do in the morning. I've already done it this morning. It's 9:30 here. So I do Headspace in the morning, and then in the afternoon I do a Zen meditative practice. And so that's really what I did for so long in martial art. Being over here in Japan, was the Zen side of things. And I love I love Headspace. And this is what all my GMB trainers and everybody, I'm always like, get Headspace. You got to do Headspace. It's so good. And I love it, man. If it keeps you going, and it's a great app. So they're always coming out with new stuff too. Wonderful.
It's wonderful. It's the videos were so helpful early on
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah.
understanding because there's a lot of understanding and weird thoughts and second guessing that goes on in your head, and it's almost like Andy is that it's almost like he's in your brain. Like, oh, I've been
Yeah.
there. Here's what you
Yeah,
do.
right.
When this
Yeah.
happens, do this.
Yep. Yep.
Some of those being inside, watching a storm out the windows,
Oh yeah.
analogies were, just
Yeah, man.
he's good.
Yeah, he is good. And one thing I still like that always comes out with him is there's always sunshine behind the clouds. And you
Uh-huh.
think about that, I was like, dude, that's cool,
Yes.
man. I was like, that's good,
Yes.
And I still
That
always
idea
think
that
about that. Yeah,
yes.
it's always
Yes,
there. It's like no
absolutely.
matter what's going on, man, you could have a really shitty day, but you got to look beyond that and understand that you're only looking at the
Sure.
clouds that are in front of you right now, and you're not seeing what's really happening. It's I like that.
Sure.
I like that.
That's the default state, and we get
Yes, man.
lost.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, we'll go to the next question.
Okay.
Is there one life event that most shaped your life trajectory, and will you share?
Oh, absolutely. Coming to Japan. So, I did gymnastics. I started gymnastics when I was about 5 years old. Competed until I was 18. And during that time, like right around, I can't remember exactly when it was. I think it was like the end of junior high, beginning of high school, I started doing martial art. Because I wasn't busy at all competing in gymnastics.
Sure.
So, no, I just fell in love with martial art. And I remember my instructor. So I stopped gymnastics when I was 18. I actually had a knee injury when I stopped doing gymnastics, but I continued with the
Mhm.
martial art. I remember my instructor was like, I don't tend to do things half-assed. I mean, I go full on in, right? And he was like, he spent a very long time in Japan, and he was like, if you really want to go deeper with your martial art, you should go to Japan. And I was like, I'm going to Japan. I had no idea how it was going to go, but
You lived in
yeah,
Kansas
I
at
ended
the
up.
time, is that right?
Yeah, I was at Kansas, and I was at Kansas State University for a little bit, and I
Yeah.
ended up getting this scholarship of sorts. Like my English is faltering. What would you call it? Like it was a sister school, like exchange student. There you go. So exchange student
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
And I went over, and I was only supposed to stay for like a couple months. And as soon as I went, my martial art instructor over in Japan, here in Japan, really took a liking to me. I ended up moving in with his family, and I ended up staying in Japan and finishing out university here in Japan. And I was very lucky because my instructor was involved with the Japan Self-Defense Force and the police academy and training with them. So basically every single day I got my ass kicked by the police. And I did in judo. And it completely changed my outlook on life. Not just in the fact that I was just doing, martial art, but it was like, this is a different culture. It's so different than the United States. I had to learn not only just the language, but multiple dialects of the language. I was a white guy, and it was like, why are you here? Why don't you go home? And I remember I graduated from university, moved to Osaka, where I am now, and the first place that I worked out, they did not want me there. I mean, my boss hated foreigners, non-Japanese. Every single day it was like, you need to go home. Why are you here? Why are you? And of course, he didn't hire me. Of course, it was like the company that hired me to be working there.
Sure.
But it really forced me to kind of look beyond. And then I only worked there for a year, and then I transferred. I worked at a martial arts complex. So I worked for a shrine. I worked for a Japanese shrine. I worked there for 8 years in a martial arts place. And so I was doing just martial all day long. I do that, and I was interpreting. And it just really changed everything. The way you look at things, the way I look at the United States now, looking at it from the outside, the way that people communicate with each other, because a lot of people don't communicate. They just talk. They don't listen.
Uh-huh.
Right? And so, the culture here, and then also meeting other foreigners. My best friend at the time, he was Australian, completely different way of looking at things. And so, that really changed my life for the better. Started GMB with two other guys, Andy and Jarlo. And, thanks to me being in Japan, that worked out. So, I look at everything that way as far as, Japan, while it does keep me from being able to do certain things, I think that it's been the best thing that's happened to me.
Do Andy and Jarlo, they're not in Japan too, are they?
So Jarlo, when Jarlo and I first met, he was in Hawaii, and he has since moved to Seattle. But Andy,
wonderful.
yeah, so Andy was actually, I met Andy, and he was living in Japan. Andy was living in Japan at the time. His wife is also Japanese, and he was actually one of my students. And
Really?
yeah, man. So we clicked and ended up. He's now CEO of GMB. He's our CEO,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just the dancing monkey. I'm just the guy who programs stuff and teaches people. So
Sure.
yeah, it's all good.
Pretty good gig.
Andy, yeah, it's all right. It's all right. No, but so Andy is actually he's in Hawaii right now with his family, and Jarlo's in Seattle. So it's kind of we're all kind of like moved around. I'm the only one who's still in the same place. So.
I think that moving anywhere outside your comfort zone, maybe even for 3 months, is something that everybody should look at.
Absolutely.
Summer off from college, and there's so many opportunities out there, but I think it's essential if you've been living in, a 2-hour radius for most of your life. You just experience something, even if it's short term. If you know you got to get back to mama, that's good. But go. So you have one regret. What is it and why?
No regrets. No regrets, man. So I've done some pretty stupid shit in my day, but but I really don't regret anything because I just think that that's helped me to shape who I am today. So yeah, man, no regrets. And of course, there are things that I want to change. I continue to try and be a better version, of myself. And I'm not perfect at all. There's a lot of shit that I need to work on. But it's I don't know. Again, we're going back to the meditation. It's a very Zen thing, but there is no yesterday to me. It's like that helped to shape what I am right now. And what I need to do is focus on right now. Right here with you to do as well as I can, and talking with you. And I'll worry about what I need to do about, for tomorrow. I'll worry about that later. But and that's a tough one, man. It's taken me many, many years to try and get in this mindset. I still struggle with it. But yeah, man. Yeah, try not to live in the past.
I would imagine there is a lot of challenge in running a business, creating a business, especially at first, because the goal is to be mindful, to be here, and you've got GMB right here. GMB is in the brain. It's ping-ponging around all day long. You have ideas that probably could stretch for weeks of work, and you don't want to lose them. And how do you stay here when there's the ping-pong? I can. That's the challenge.
That is the challenge, man. And this is something, Andy and I were just talking about this. We talk about it a lot, in Jarlo, we talk about it. But it's like, write that shit down. Get that shit down. You write it down.
Yeah.
I use a yellow legal pad, and I just write everything, and then I put it aside. I put it aside. So I've got like my thinking time, and I've got my non-thinking time, if you will, where I just try and turn my brain off. And really, my workouts, this is going to sound weird, that's my turn my brain off of work mode and turn my brain on to the now mode of working out. And so I don't want to be working out and thinking about all the other shit that I have to do. I wouldn't be doing anybody a favor, because my job really is to be able to do the stupid, crazy stuff that we do. And if I can't do that, then it's tough. Now, of course, it goes a little beyond that, because now we're at the point where we have some wonderful trainers. We have some lead trainers who better than me at doing the stuff. But really, as the dancing monkey of the company, I need to make sure that I can still do it. And so that's why I need to be present in what I'm doing. But, regarding work, there's always, that thing. And so I'm really trying, and I say trying, I set things up, but it's always that balancing act throughout the day of saying, okay, when I wake up, this is what I do. And so that's why I have these little, I don't want to say rituals, but like habits of sorts that I do every day so that I can make sure that I'm setting myself up for the day. Because here's what happens. No matter how you plan the day, Murphy's going to come around in here and screw things up, or Murphy,
Yes.
and so it's like, you have every intention of doing things this way, but there's always going to be something that's thrown in there. And so I also plan for that. And so I've got my 1 hour during the day that I allocate to saying, all right, this is what I need to do during this hour. And so that's where you can think about what's going on, planning for upcoming things. But another thing, though, along those lines is communication. And, the business we have now, we started off and it was Andy, Jarlo, and I. Mm-hmm. And now we're at total we've got 21 people on staff. Never imagined that our company would be this big. That's just on staff. That's not like looking at the trainers and all the other people, right? Communication is huge, and making sure that you're not overthinking something or thinking about something that's not going to be beneficial to where we're going in relation to the other people. And so, looking at a business in the very beginning, I don't want to say it's easy, but sky's the limit. But then as you start to grow, you need to narrow down and focus just on the things that are going to help you to make sure that you're going in the right direction, that are beneficial to everyone involved. That's tough. I got to be honest, that's why I'm not the CEO, man. I'm not the planner of that kind of thing. And Andy is so wonderful at doing that. Jarlo is amazing at focusing on the content and organizing the people to make sure things happen. I'm just good at, I look at the programming side of it, the teaching side of it, and shooting the videos and making sure that the image, I guess, of where we want to be going with it. That's kind of my position. So that's another thing too, is I focus on what I'm good at. Jarlo focuses on what he's good at, and so we all have our certain roles. Now we get together and talk about everything, but by doing that, it kind of helps to take a little bit of some of the other stuff off of your mind so you can focus on what you're doing.
Yes. What one habit or ritual do you most credit with success in life?
Oh, you know what I'm going to say, man. I'm going to say meditation. Yeah, meditation. I got to say that because, again, it's finding that clarity, because I am totally scatterbrained, man. I mean, it's like I'm good at it now, but it used to be. I remember years ago, I would see a new movement. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Let's try, It's like, that sparkly thing right there. I want to. But right now, meditation really helps to center me. And I know people say that, it sounds silly, but I mean, really, it's that balancing act. There's a lot of other stuff too, like in my life. I mean, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like my passion, man. I mean, I love it. I want to do it every single day. But again, there also has to be that balance in there. And so, but meditating, it helps me to basically calm me down and get perspective. And that's why I do it the very first thing in the morning. Well, after, I get up and have breakfast with my kids and they leave, and I come into my gym. And so it's not like I just wake up and meditate. I do it when I'm here in my gym. And so that helps start my day. And I try not to look at emails or any of that kind of stuff, because if I look at emails or anything, then it's going to have shit going through my head when I'm trying to meditate. Right.
Sure.
So that meditation really helps kind of set me up for the day. And then again, the reason I do another one in the afternoon is so I can kind of clear my mind from the stuff that I was doing during the day and kind of set myself up for that when I go home. I can be there for my family instead of thinking about my work and everything else. Another thing, too, is it's not just me, and that's a good thing, because if it were just me, things would be crazy, okay? But we've got Andy, and we've got Jarlo, and we've got other people who contribute. And what has happened, really, we've looked at the key components of what we need. And so, it's simple, but it's not overly simple to the point where it's stupid. And so there is so much information. But what we've done is we've had to just hone things down. We've taken something and we've had to test it, and this didn't work, so this, and then we look at this, and how can we simplify that and then look at really what is the base of what we're after, and really look at where do we want to go. And so my main thing is when someone says, okay, I want to get this skill, I'm looking at where do they need to start, okay? Because I know where they want to go. The first thing I need to know is where they want to start from. So that's why we have the assessment that we do. And this is what we've done with our company. And so this isn't just like I'm just talking about, you know, we've got the AAA framework, which is the assess. You assess where you are, you address the issues, then you apply what you need in order to get you where you want to go. This is exactly what we've done with our company, you know. And you know, Jarlo is a physical therapist, damn great physical therapist. Andy's background is in education, you know, mine as well as with And so what we've done is we're all martial artists. And so that's the real big thing that pulls us together. But the thing is we're able to look at things from a different perspective and being able to put these together and say, what do we really essentially want out of this? And what do we need to show people? And typically what we need to show people is that people are doing too much shit. That's what it is. You can get anything you want, but first, this is what you really need to be focused on. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. They just want that sparkly thing. But what we've had to do, and this was a challenge, was say, all right, yeah, you want a handstand? Great, okay? First thing we need to do, though, is work on your wrist flexibility. But we set it up in a way to show people that, yes, you're not going upside down and doing a handstand, but you are working on your handstand. Therefore, you are working on the handstand, if that makes sense. And so it's taken a long time to get there. We're still continuing to make upgrades, if you will. The reason why is we're not the kind of place that says, all right, this is it, we're done. Can't do that. It's just like in life. I mean, you know, you've always got to say, listen, we did this before, but this is where we're going now. I got to be honest. I hate creating cookie cutter programs, you know. If I had it my way, I would just sit down with the person one-on-one and take them through it, but we can't, right? You know, it's an internet thing, and so we give examples, but what we're trying to do is lead people in a direction where they can look at simplifying and simply look at what do you need for what you want to do, and that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, man, you know, it's tough. It's really tough. Meditation has definitely helped me. I can't speak for Jarlo and Andy, but I do know that the three of us working off of each other has allowed us to be able to pull back to focus on the things that we need to do individually in order to bring up the company and make it better as a whole. And so it reminds me of like learning a movement, right? So you look at a movement, you get the beginning, the middle, the end of a movement. Well, you can break it apart. You can focus on the entry of that movement, make it better. Then you focus on the end, and you focus on the middle part. When you bring it back together, it's better as a whole. And so that's kind of how we've also looked at our company and working with each other. And we fight, you know. But the thing is you know, we're very close friends. And everyone says don't do a business with your friends, but you know, we look past our little piddly bullshit issues that we have, and you know, realize that this is bigger than us. And so by being able to do that, it's really helped us challenge each other in order to make it as simple as possible, but make sure that we're still dishing out the goods.
Absolutely. Well, you guys are doing, if people who are listening, if they haven't checked out GMB, you really have to, because it really is beautiful. It's your physical autonomy. It's your ability to control your own body is the approach. It's deeply connected to who you are as a person, and being able to move without needing tons of accessory resistance machines or anything. Exactly. This should be a class. This should be the backbone of you know, at least early physical education. In addition to, you know, just play for play's sake. But I mean,
yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, we think the same thing. So yeah.
You have to choose only one exercise for life. What is it and why?
Well, there's some really good exercises out there. You know, I'm sure people would say, especially nowadays, kettlebells. A lot of people use kettlebells, swing, Turkish get up. Those are great movements. I love them. I'm going to go though with something that you can do without any equipment. And I would definitely say it has to be a squat and also something that forces you to engage the ground by putting your hands on the ground. Because if you look at longevity, right, and looking at, I mean, this is an Asia thing too as well. You know, people squat over here and they do a pretty damn good job of it. And they live a pretty long time, you know. So, so what I would say is a squat where you're forced to engage the ground, so getting up off the ground. Hell, I'll throw something out from what we have is the monkey, where it's basically you go down to a squat, you put your hands on the ground, and you laterally shift your body going back and forth. Yeah, I would definitely say that. You know, you're looking at good range of motion in the lower extremities, you know, hip flexors, ankle mobility, as well as the core control laterally. There's a twisting motion in there, so you don't get a lot of that. Some other movements as well. You're placing your hands on the ground with your arms, arm strength, wrist flexibility. Yeah, I'd go with monkey.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. What is one training or nutrition myth you'd eliminate from the face of the earth forevermore?
Going to upset some people probably, but the fact that training and nutrition are the most important aspects of health.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people get so focused on the training and the nutrition side of it that they kind of miss some of the other things, you know? Maybe a good example is, yeah, training and nutrition are important, but what do you need that for in your life? And so some people get so focused on the training. I mean, I was one of them, absolutely. You know, it was like, oh, training every day. If I don't train, I'm going to die. But I mean, good example, like I love surfing too, you know, and, you know, just getting out and surfing. I'm doing that with my family, my son and my daughter, they both love it. And I even got my wife, you know, to go surfing. And I mean, sleep, I think, is also so important, but just the fact that you've got to train and you've got to focus on your nutrition. You know, I think that there's so much pressure to do that for people that they kind of lose track of really why do you need to do that stuff? It's because it's for your lifestyle. So maybe instead of that, look at what's going on in your lifestyle and focus on that a bit more instead of just trying to go and train and go on whatever X diet that's popular, you know, whatever. Japan is crazy for those stupid diets. I gotta tell you, man, it's driving me crazy. My wife is like, have you heard of this banana diet? All you do is eat bananas. I'm just like, seriously? Are you kidding me? And they're like, yes. My wife is, yeah, so many people are losing tons of weight. And I'm like, of course they're going to lose weight. They're not freaking eating, okay? So, yeah, I would definitely say, like, you know, looking at that. Training and nutrition, I think, is very important. But take a look at what you're doing it for.
Okay. It's remembering the purpose behind training and nutrition, not doing them for their own sake, but integrating them into your life. And into a deeper purpose than just because and that's most people's problem with nutrition and training. It solves both issues. Most people go into your banana diet. Well, that's not sustainable. You're going to eat more than just bananas in your life. That's not going to be the only thing.
Sustainability, you nailed it right there. Yeah, sustainability. I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think that is really where I'm going at. It's like, look at the sustainability of something, you know? And that's why, you know, GMB, I love it to death, okay? It's my company. But the thing is like if you find something that you love to do, like Zumba, if you like Zumba gets a bad rep. Thing is, though, if it gets you off the couch and you like it, you know, and you want to go do it. That's totally cool, you know, run with it, you know. So, you know, make it sustainable so that you can do it and you enjoy it.
I love it.
I think that's also why I like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. It's because, like, I mean, there's so many different ways you can do it, and there's always something new to learn every time you step on the mat.
Certainly, it's part of your life. It's more than just trying to burn a calorie or something.
That's right. That's right.
What one quote should everyone know and remind themselves of daily?
Okay, I'm going to try and remember this. It's from my favorite book, which is called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. I really suggest everyone read that book. It's an amazing book.
Unbelievable book. Yes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable book.
He's got another one called Ego is the Enemy as well.
I've been meaning to pick it up.
Obstacle is the way. It's the way to go. Is it like, in every situation, life is asking us a question, and our actions are the answer. I believe that's what it is. So life is asking us a question, and basically, your actions are what determines what the answer is. And so,
I love that.
How do you interact with things? I mentioned this earlier. How do you look at something? And how do you deal with that situation? It's in every situation, and in every situation, life is asking us a question, and our actions are the answer, I believe. I'm not good at remembering stuff. I apologize.
Sure, but the spirit of it is there, and it's great. And there's so much wrapped into it. And first of all, just the mindful element of be here in this. Maybe life's asking you a question and you're just ignoring it. So. Or maybe your behavior is showing that your true disconnect to what's actually going on. But it kind of pumps you up, makes you want to step up to the plate, like, oh yeah, I'm living right now.
That's right. It does. Yeah. It does. It really does.
Certainly. This goes perfectly, but maybe we can just kind of expand. You can only read one book. What is it and why?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the obstacles way.
Yeah. I would definitely choose that again. So just a little background on it. I read it when it first came out. It was great. But what really got me and what went back and I read it again, last August, I broke my ankle. So I broke my ankle and I had emergency surgery, and I had a plate with 6 screws and on one side and then 2 screws on the other. So basically I broke my ankle and it broke this way and completely flipped around.
Oh.
And I was in a hospital, and over here in Japan, national health insurance is amazing, by the way. So good. And I won't even get into it with the United States kind of thing, man, but it's like you just flip out if I told you how much I didn't have to pay.
Sure.
So I'm in a hospital for 14 days, and it was pretty rough. I was supposed to take my family. It was our first real family vacation. Supposed to take my family with me to Europe. I was going to teach on the weekend, and after the seminar, we were going to head for our family vacation. And I broke my ankle 2 days before we were supposed to go. So I had to cancel everything, and I thought my wife was going to divorce me. That's a joke, by the way, okay? I just meant she was really pissed off.
Sure.
And thing is, though, that I decided, and it was tough. I had a meltdown. Meltdown as far as I broke down. I broke down and I cried because I felt like I let everybody down. And I talked to Andy and I talked to Jarlo, and they're like, hey man, listen, the most important thing is that you're going to be okay. Company's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And so I kind of let go as far as okay, moving forward. And so I had my cry and I moved on. And instead of trying to be positive about it, I just decided I wasn't going to be negative about it. And so, using the obstacle is the way I went back and read that. And I wasn't allowed to have any electronics in the hospital during that period of time. And so what I did is I used that time did a lot of meditating. I did a lot of doodling, kind of drawing kind of stuff. Sat, thought, took notes, did stuff, and just actually enjoyed just being there. And looked at it as a way that, okay, this is a start over for me, and this is an obstacle that I have the opportunity now to run with. And, it's been it's not even a year now. It's been 10 months. I'm pretty much fine now. My recovery has been pretty damn good. Everything's going well, and I'm a better person for it. And I do believe that me breaking my ankle is one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life. Sounds horrible, but looking back at it now, it was so many good things came from that it's taught me just so much. And so thanks to that book, it's really helped me to reframe the way that I looked at that. It was good.
Sure. Yeah, reframing is so essential, I think. Yeah. Anytime that we kind of go down that rabbit hole of negative emotion.
Yeah.
You got a full deep squat and everything back?
Oh man, I'm good. It's funny because my doctor was just like, so your range of motion with your broken foot's better than most people normally, so I think you're good to go. So, but again, it's not 100% yet, and there's still, sure, of course, and I'm not rushing it too much. I'm back. I can roll in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now. I just started rolling again last month, but I didn't rush into anything. I went through the process of making sure I was assessing, addressing, and applying everything that I needed to do, listening to my doctor, working with my PT, making sure I got body work. making sure that I was doing everything, sleep, making sure I was sleeping, making sure that I wasn't doing stupid shit. And yeah, man, just keep going forward with it. Full squat, range of motion. You check out my videos on Instagram. You know, a couple. You know, you see me still doing my crazy shit. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I actually did that on purpose. I broke my ankle on purpose so that we could show people that you can use GMB to get back from any. I'm just kidding.
There you go. That's spinning it in the right direction. That's the obstacle is the way. Right? It made it into a positive.
A plus, yeah.
Yeah. I remember first reading that book, and it spurred me to do a lot of things that I had been putting off for whatever reason.
Cool.
I had all sorts of excuses for, I'm going to do this when the time is right. Immediately finished. 5 weeks later, I'd passed my CSCS, and
sweet.
And from there, it just was one of many. So it's very, very good book.
Yeah, I think everybody should read it. Everybody should read it.
Certainly. All right, you have only one lesson you can impart on the next generation. All will adhere 100% to this advice. They will absolutely ignore any subsequent suggestions or advice. What lesson do you communicate?
What lesson? Well, maybe lesson, I would say more of like advice would be spend more time listening to people rather than trying to impress people. And I think that a lot of people are so anxious to get their opinion out that they're missing out on what they can learn from other people in order to be a better person. And, kind of tough advice maybe, but I mean, we see a lot of very young trainers out there who know everything. Like, this is the way it is. And, it's good to have confidence, but I think that in my case, something that I really learned by being here in Japan and being put in the martial art society, especially as a non-Japanese person, was I never had the opportunity to say anything. You put in the work and you listen and you learn and you think about how would you do it your way, but then you test it and then you start building, and then after 10 years you might know a little something. And so I think that still stands true. And so, like, if I meet somebody for the first time and everybody asks me, well, what do you do here in Japan? I kind of gloss over what I do, and I always try and bring it to them. And for one thing, I don't really want to talk too much about what I do because I'm just like, whatever. It's also difficult to explain. You got 20 minutes. But but I want to hear more about other people. And every time I'm on an airplane, which is pretty much every single month, the person next to me, going to be talking to them. And you can learn so much from other people that's going to help you to become a better person and instead of just trying to impress people. So it's tough, and we're in this business, and this is it's so difficult for me. You got Instagram, and it's like I got to put videos out there to show people I can actually do this stuff, and it's that fine line between giving people things that can inspire them and then just putting stuff out there just to show you can do stuff. It's always been that balancing act for us in GMB, because when you first start out, you got to show people that you know your shit. But
sure,
that's why now I like where we are in GMB, because we can listen to our clients, really, really ask them, what do you want, but more importantly, what do you need, and try and work towards being able to give them that. That would be my lesson or advice for people.
Wonderful. I hope everyone hears that. And that there's so hard to do. We all want to be accepted. We want to be perceived in certain ways. If people haven't read How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's an old classic. It's amazing. You could, if you want to be perceived as possibly having some sort of credentials or value, sometimes shutting up is the best way to have that.
That's right. It also kind of, going off on a tangent, sorry to interrupt you, but it just reminded me of, like, usually the quiet guys are the guys you should fear, okay? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a weird way to say it, but it reminds me of a guy who's on our staff, on the GMB staff. He's a very quiet guy, such a nice guy, but his background is just incredible. He doesn't talk about it at all, but the topic of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came up, and I remember somebody was like, so Jeff, do you do, and everybody's giving their opinion, and he's just being real quiet about it. The guy has over 11 years experience in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's like this high-ranking guy, and it was like, anyway, sorry, man. Sure. It just cracks me up. So it's just one of those things where listening can sometimes be better, and you never know who's listening, by the way. So that's another thing to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to point out, I love what you said about hearing your client and giving them what they want, and more importantly what they need, which takes that skill of listening. I think that's certainly something that you get better at the longer you train people. Especially early on, you get in that small, this is the right way to do it, and you can start to shed your dogmas as you go along, and everything you learn becomes a tool, something that you can help give them what they need. We'll go to our last question. All right. If you could create one rite of passage for all our society, what would it be?
Well, there's a couple things. I think it's just tough to say. I'm not saying that I think we should have a military or things like that, but I do think that being placed in a situation like, for example, boot camp or going through hardship that forces you to learn more about yourself, as well as working with other people, and especially people of different ethnicities, I think is extremely important. Again, me being over here in Japan, don't see a lot of people who look like me very often, which is good. But I also think, though, that what I would say is actually going to kind of be the opposite, and that is I think that people should be forced to spend a certain amount of time by themselves, alone from any other contact from any person out there, to learn how to cope with that. And I think that we can become so dependent upon other people and not be comfortable in our own bodies, in our own minds, that, pardon the motorcycle out there, that I think we can end up relying too much either on people or technology. And so Instagram, Facebook, good example if you got to check in. And so I think that being able to step back, spend a certain amount of time, whether it be a week, a month, 3 months, by yourself without human contact, it sounds heinous. But if you can, learn to be able to do that and to not only handle it, but deal with it in a way that teaches you more about yourself, then when you go back and interact with other people, I think it's going to make you a better person. And it's also similar to what I was saying earlier about being a better listener, understanding that you do have the ability to handle certain situations without having to rely on everybody else. Yeah. Kind of a long one there, but yeah.
No,
so it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing.
Ton of growth from that. I think it enhances all your relationships and ensures that you get in the right relationships with both friends and in the future a spouse. But you don't fear being alone, and there's a strength in that you find in yourself. Certainly, there's a peace that comes from not needing the distraction at a certain point. So all these things. Yeah. Not that we need to live a monk life, but there's certainly a lot of value and growth from experiences like that.
And I mean, on a very, very, minute scale, if you will, I mean, you can look at your meditation every day as that, as taking a step away from everything out there and just disconnecting, if you will, yourself from everything in order to learn more about yourself so that you can be a better person. So, I mean, don't just go out there and for 3 months think you're going to be able to survive by yourself or something like that. Start off with just 5 minutes a day, okay? But
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
after
on.
this interview, everybody's got to think I'm some like monk or something, some weird, guy. I promise you, I'm not.
Yeah, I like people.
I do like
like all
people.
the things you like. Yeah, there's someone out there like he doesn't watch football and he meditates. I'm done with this interview.
Screw this guy. Yeah.
Well, I have so enjoyed this, Ryan.
Thank you so much. I did too, man. This is good. So thanks for having me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a blast.
Thanks so much again. Cheers, man. Have a good one.
All right. See you, Ryan.
Bye-bye.